Welcome to Crypto Infographics. And today we are talking about the best and worst places to store your Bitcoin. So if you like this type of content, please leave a thumbs up. I am super grateful for every like we get. Thank you so much. And let's dive right in. So today we are talking about probably the 5 buckets of where you can store your Bitcoin. And that ranges from custodial exchanges, non-custodial exchanges, hot wallets, cold wallets, and multi-signature wallets. And I am not here to tell you what is the best place to store all your funds for every single person. This is a personal economics decision, and this is a framework to guide you to where is going to be the best for you. And so you're going to see on the y-axis, we have security. You're going to say, hey, do I want maximum security, or am I okay with very little security on my Bitcoin? And on the x-axis, you're going to see responsibility, difficulty, and decreasing time preference. So hey, it's like, hey, this trade-off, I get more security, but am I willing to accept the responsibility of what it takes to learn and the actions to do that? And the difficulty. The reason these on-ramps are so easy, are so popular, is because they are so easy. And these more desirable, more secure locations for your Bitcoin, they're slightly more difficult, but they seem like they're really difficult because for most people, they've never done this before. So I assure you, it's not that much more difficult, but you got to be willing to do something that's a little bit more difficult than these. And then you're also going to have decreasing time preference. And this is a super important concept for your personal economics, is your time preference. And for that, let's go to Saifedean Ammous and his definition of time preference from the Bitcoin standard. So he says, sound money is a prime factor in determining individual time preference, an enormously important and widely neglected aspect of individual decision making. Time preference refers to the ratio at which individuals value the present compared to the future. So this is literally like your personal marshmallow test. Would you rather have one marshmallow now, or would you rather wait 10 minutes and have 2 marshmallows? And the way that our current economic system and fiat money system sets us up is it corrupts the marshmallow experiment. And so, because it's very difficult to save purchasing power, save value with US dollars. So it changes the experiment to be more like, hey, would you rather have 1 marshmallow now, or would you rather have 0.95 marshmallows 1 year from now? And then the choice is obvious. I'd rather have 1 marshmallow now. And so that means my time preference is extremely high because I'd rather consume now. So this is going to flip the script on that. And it's going to, remember that it's cool to save money, cool to be your own bank. So we will start with the 2 non-desirable places to leave your Bitcoin. And this video is not talking about where to buy your Bitcoin. It's not talking about best exchanges. It's just talking about what's the best place to store your Bitcoin. And some of these don't fall perfectly into a bucket. So I'll try to cover those specifically. So we'll start with custodial exchanges. And here you're going to find Coinbase, PayPal, Robinhood, eToro, and Cash App. And these are places that hold on to your keys. And so another important concept here is that Bitcoin are stored in Bitcoin wallets. But you don't want to think about it as like there's just literally coins sitting in there. What is sitting in there is your private keys, basically your ability to spend those Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. And the keys are an alphanumeric code. And so if you don't own those keys, you do not own the ability to spend Bitcoin. You are trusting another party. You're loaning your keys to another party and hoping that all goes well. So that is the way to visualize it. And in all 5 of these, you do not have the private keys to your Bitcoin. On PayPal and Robinhood especially, you can't even withdraw the Bitcoin to your own wallet if you wanted to. It's literally like having Bitcoin poker chips, and you just have to keep playing, you know what I mean? You can't redeem them for the actual, store value that you want. Coinbase, eToro, and Cash App, you certainly can remove those to your own privately held wallet. And then there's also non-custodial exchanges, and these are places where you do hold on, or you can hold on to your keys, but it is an exchange. And so this is places like Swan, River Financial, Local Coin Swap, and Hodl Hodl. And again, with Swan and River Financial, those are places where you can actually have the ability to move your Bitcoin into cold storage. So I would also kind of put these as partially a non-custodial exchange, partially cold wallet functionality. And if you're looking for places to buy, and you just happen to be on this video, which might be the wrong video for you, my top suggestions for newcomers are Swan, or River Financial, or Cash App. But we're talking about best places to store, and we're talking about these exchanges. And so, it's typical to think, oh, these places are reputable. I'll just leave all my Bitcoin there. It's easy. You know what I mean? We're used to having this helplessness complex, this learned helplessness that we need other institutions to store our money. But I'll leave it to Andreas Antonopoulos to describe, the reasons why that's undesirable. So he was asked, what are the worst ways to store Bitcoin? And let's listen into what he said the first two worst ways are to store your Bitcoin.
What are the worst practices to store Bitcoin? I would say the absolute worst practice to store Bitcoin is to store it on a custodial service, meaning they have the keys and you do not, that is accessed primarily through a web interface and does not have two-factor authentication. I would put that at the absolute top of my list as the worst ever way to store Bitcoin. If you store Bitcoin on a custodial service, you don't have the keys, and it's accessed through a web interface, which means that you have to type a username and password into a browser, which may or may not be at the correct site, which may or may not be on a computer with a keylogger or Trojan. And there's no opportunity for two-factor authentication, or the two-factor authentication is laughingly simple, like SMS-based text message two-factor authentication, which at this point in the internet security history is criminally negligent to have SMS as your two-factor authentication, which is why it's preferred by all of the banks. Then in that case, you are at huge risk of losing that Bitcoin. It can be stolen by the exchange. It can be stolen by someone in the exchange. It can be stolen from the exchange. It can be stolen when someone sniffs your password from your browser using a Trojan. It can be stolen when someone simjacks your phone, or if you don't have two-factor authentication, or so many different ways it can be stolen, and you will have absolutely no recourse. So if it is stolen, it's like, whoops, sorry, gone. All right, so if a custodial no two-factor authentication web interface is the worst, the second worst would be non-custodial no two-factor authentication web-based, which would include various web wallets like blockchain.info or blockchain.com as it's called today, where, again, phishing attacks are the primary way that wallet is stolen.
Thank you, Anton. And we'll actually check out what he says at the very end. It's really incredible to hear.
The first three that I gave you, those are almost guaranteed to make you lose your money.
Almost guaranteed to make you lose your money. And I actually believe that over a long enough time frame. You know what I mean? Over the last 100 years, the majority of governments have confiscated gold in the past 100 years. And I anticipate that to be a trend in digital gold in the coming years. So I hope you feel convinced that these are not good places to leave very much Bitcoin, maybe 1 to 5% if you're planning on trading. So we'll move on up to the options for having your own wallet. So those are hot wallet, cold wallet, and multi-sig wallet. And you could think of these as your checking account, your savings account, and maybe your treasury reserve vault cold storage. So let's talk about the difference between a hot wallet and a cold wallet. And a hot wallet, that just means it's connected to the internet. Allows for instantaneous transfer of funds. There's a lot of easy user experiences, greater ease of use, but more vulnerable to hacking because it is connected to the internet. Cold wallets are offline wallets that live on a small hardware device or on a piece of paper. Remember, these are just your keys. It's more secure, but payment process can be more cumbersome. Cold wallets are certainly the gold standard in securing your Bitcoin. So that's why I would advocate for having your hot wallet be something that maybe you want easy access to your funds. Maybe you want to experiment with spending Bitcoin on things, places like Green Wallet or Samurai Wallet. And I'll leave some more options in the description. Cold Wallet. There are three major players here: Trezor, Ledger, or Cold Card. You can also create your own, and I'll leave notes in the description with better advice how to do that from Matt Odell. And I would highly recommend doing this and securely storing your seed phrase. That is a mnemonic phrase that represents the alphanumeric code, which is your private keys, which allow you to spend your Bitcoin. And then from there, if you want max security on your Bitcoin, and this also, I treat my Bitcoin as if they're already worth $1 million per Bitcoin, because I truly plan on never selling them, and I truly expect that to be, the minimum price that they reach. For max security, use a multi-sig wallet. You don't have to use a service. You can do it yourself, but two great services are Casa and Unchained Capital. And corporations with large treasury reserves also use multi-sig wallets. And the deal here is that it's going to take multiple signatures, multiple keys to spend that Bitcoin. So it means that no one private key is a point of failure. As with the cold wallet, say you forget it, you lose your private seed somehow, something goes terribly wrong, your funds are lost forever. In this case, you can lose an entire private key, and it's totally fine. And there's different architectures. You can do 2 out of 3 keys to sign. You can do 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7, on and on. And so you can see here that Bitcoin, one of the big tenets of the ethos is to be your own bank. And part of that is assuming the responsibility for your own money. I think this is one of the highest priorities we could have as individuals, is to take control of our own finances, our financial future. Back to the graph. So now it's time to ask yourselves the questions. What's your preferences? Do you want max security? What's your time preference? Do you have a certain amount of funds that you can lock away to never use and think about it for your great-great-grandparents? Are you willing to put in the effort to secure your private key, seed phrase? And you know what? To me, the feeling of security is so worth it. It's so worth the time invested, and you just feel fantastic when it's time to be your own bank, and you know that your bank is actually memorized in your brain. So with that, I will leave you. I'm also going to drop a couple more links to Matt Odell and his resource guide. It's so comprehensive. It's fantastic. There's things that are beyond my depth, and there's also instructions for how to source Bitcoin privately. And that's it. Drop a comment. Please let me know what your preferences are. Do you disagree with this chart at all? I think it's rapidly changing. You know what I mean? 3 months from now, these circles might need to be in different places. So let me know if you have any criticisms or just thumbs up. Thank you so much. See you next time.